From the British Columbia Institute of Technology, BCIT magazine features news stories from around the Lower Mainland over the past week. Responsibility for the content of the show rests completely with the students and their BCIT instructors.
BCIT magazine, the annual Coats for Kids campaign has just started, but this year's need is greater than ever before.
A funeral home teams up with ICBC to combat drinking and driving.
And BCIT students are going to vote on whether or not they want the U-Pass.
Hi and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Brittany Greenslade.
And I'm Chandler Grieve.
The annual Coats for Kids campaign started on Monday. However, this year's demand for warm winter coats is at an all-time high. Corrine Grierson explains.
The Lower Mainland Christmas Bureau provided more than 3,000 warm coats for children in need last year. However, this year's need is greater than ever before.
We think this year is going to be challenging because of the weather, because of the economy. The cost of living in Vancouver especially goes up, and the wages aren't really going up. So it's all lower income families, which are basically middle class working families. They're all struggling more. We see it. We get way more phone calls. We get a lot more people looking for our services further and further ahead of Christmas now.
The weather also plays a major factor in the need for warm coats.
Everybody keeps talking about the greatly anticipated snowstorm and cold weather. And obviously when the weather is colder and crappier, there is more demand for coats.
The donations are received by Greater Vancouver Home Builders Association's annual Coats for Kids campaign. This year, they are really encouraging people to open their closets and their hearts before the campaign ends at the end of the month.
We urge everybody to, if they can, open up their closets and see something that they don't use anymore that's suitable for a child, even adults, teenagers. I recommend and I really urge you to bring it down during this campaign, which ends on the 30th of November, and donate those items to help somebody else in need.
The Lower Mainland Christmas Bureau has only 2 weeks to fill these shelves with warm coats before opening up to the public on December 6th. However, they are highly optimistic that the Coats for Kids campaign will once again provide enough warm winter clothing to ensure that children stay warm this holiday season. Corrine Grierson in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
A Surrey area funeral home and an ICBC joined together this week to bring more awareness towards drinking and driving. My co-anchor Brittany Greenslade with the story.
Candles are lit to remember those lost. November 14th is Bereavement Day in British Columbia, and with this year's drinking and driving law changes, Valley View Funeral Home and ICBC held a seminar to remind people it starts with just one drink.
Because this year the new drinking and driving laws have changed, and Valley View do see a lot of families devastated when there is a loss on the road through drinking and driving.
Kevin Brooks is a motivational speaker who knows firsthand the dangers of drinking and driving.
I was in a car crash 10 years ago, driving impaired, and I'm paralyzed from the crash, and my friend passed away in the crash. So it was a life-changing event. I love the new drinking and driving laws. Like, I know a lot of people don't, but just the irony of the fact that, you know, we leave it to people who are drinking, which impairs their judgment, to use their best judgment and decide whether or not they're okay to drive. Like, doesn't add up for some reason.
And with the new tougher, stricter drinking and driving laws, Brooks is hoping to see a few less of these being placed due to alcohol. Brittany Greenslade in Surrey for BCIT Magazine. BCIT's Student Association will be asking students whether or not they want the U-Pass. And as Jonathan Horst reports, it's been a strong issue in the school, dividing transit users and commuters.
All in favor of that referendum question?
At the recent Student Association meeting, Council voted in favor of asking students whether they want a U-Pass. The question?
Are you in favor of authorizing the BCIT Student Association to collect a fee of $30 per month of study for student eligible for the U-Pass BC program?
The U-Pass is a discounted monthly pass for students to use TransLink services, all zones and all times during the school year.
I think the beauty about the U-Pass is you don't have to use it to come to school. You can use it after school, you can use it going downtown on the weekends, you can use it for whatever you want.
President Jordan Harris says that the reaction has been strong, mainly between transit users who need the pass and commuters who don't, but already pay for parking.
I vote yes.
I would vote for it.
I would have to vote no, because I don't use it.
I would vote yes for the U-Pass.
It's mixed. There's people that want it, there's people that don't, there's people that want more information. It's basically all over the board, so that's why we have this wonderful referendum process.
So, $30 a month extra then. Well, it's up to you to pass the U-Pass in January. Jonathan Horst in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
Reporter Jonathan Horst joins us now. Jonathan, how will the U-Pass work for eligible students and who qualifies?
Well, we don't know who's eligible just yet, but we should get a list by the end of the month. I should note that all eligible students will have to pay for the pass without any option of opting out. The pass will be given on a monthly basis, but charged with regular student fees, and it's like any other TransLink monthly pass, which you activate and keep in your pocket.
If students vote to implement the U-Pass, when can they expect to get it?
Well, nothing's written in stone, but it will be after the end of the school year, so either earliest in the summer of 2011, latest September 2011. Back to you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Beyond brightening a room, these flowers are putting color back into the lives of homeless in Vancouver. Alyssa Dawson has the story.
These aren't headed to a store, but they are getting a second lease on life, and they're giving Vancouver's homeless that chance too.
It's a good philosophy. We were constantly bringing flowers on a weekly basis. We got approached by a gentleman by the name of Marriott, Flowers for Food. He introduced the concept to us, and we thought it was a great opportunity to give to the homeless.
We started in 2005 by delivering flowers to one person, one client. And from that time, we've grown to helping hundreds of people on the street level in terms of giving them flowers that are destined for the landfill, in which they can now say, here's a flower in exchange for your kindness to those who give them money on the street.
And this process kicks in at your local flower shop.
It's definitely a small contribution of the whole picture that we can help with the homeless. Any little bit that we can do is what we want to be able to do. Be a small, if not a large contributor to a good cause.
These flowers aren't just beautifying homes, they've become a survival tool.
We provide opportunity for those who are marginalized. Those that are on the street without a means of supporting themselves, as simply as picking up the flowers and rearranging them, they can now offer something that is of value to someone else on the street. It's not just a matter of the monetary gain, but it's also the self-esteem, it's the dignity, it's the feeling of belonging within the community.
And as for the future of the Flowers for Food program?
A better involvement from the whole industry could be a worthy contribution to the whole program to allow it to grow as we would like to see it grow.
That is Flower Power in Action. Alyssa Dawson for BCIT Magazine.
After months of organizing and campaigning, former Premier and Fight HST leader Bill Vander Zalm announced his first recall target for next week ahead of the HST referendum next year. Vander Zalm has dubbed this campaign Survivor Recall.
The first constituency to have a recall is Oak Bay Gordon Head. And they wanted to do it immediately, even though it's not the best of timing just before Christmas, but they feel they have such a big army that's ready to go that they can move immediately.
The Fight HST campaign will have 60 days to gather the 18,000 signatures needed to trigger a by-election. Kamloops North and Comox Valley will be targeted next. Coming up after the break on BCIT Magazine, with snow on the way, these gondolas will soon be taking up skiers and snowboarders.
And the BC Lions clean out their lockers and get ready for the off-season.